Back in the day, if you wanted to connect with someone halfway across the world, you would have needed Skype. Does anyone still use Skype? Like, if you do, let me know. But it wasn't as easy to connect with people through FaceTime like it is today, and much less connecting one city to another. With that said, may I present to you the Portal, which is basically just one big Skype group call, or the biggest FaceTime screen ever. Yay! Welcome to Newsflash, and today we're going to be talking about that New York Dublin Portal where, of course, everything went wrong. I admit, it was pretty cool when they built this portal between New York and Dublin, where you can basically look into a live streaming camera halfway across the world. Sounds neat, right? What could possibly go wrong? I'll give you a list of reasons of what went wrong, okay? Because of f***ing course it did. On the surface, it should be easy, right? Hi, I'm in Dublin. I'm in New York. Oh, hello. Hi, we're both looking at the same thing. But the problem is, especially with how many cases of main character syndrome we've been seeing lately, is that some people will look at that and think of ways to be funny, to make it all about them, and to just abuse this art piece. Because we just can't have nice things anymore, okay? Nothing is sacred. And because this exhibit is so publicized, you know it's going to attract the worst of the worst, the most annoying types of people, which will, funny enough, actually make it the second worst place to be in New York besides Times Square. No, Smelly Elmo, I am not paying for a photo or a copy of your mixtape, okay? Anyways, the Doctor Strange simulator definitely had people acting a little strange. I swear, man, I'm telling you, it's the water. Unsurprisingly, people were throwing up vulgar hand signs, like that kid that was went TikTok viral for doing this. He was just flipping off the camera and just doing suggestive hand signs. Thank God that there was no one on the other side of that when that happened. But the behaviors of this 5-year-old are just a little tidbit of just how awkward some of these things can be. But what were you expecting? People to be polite with hearts and I love yous and making new friends and hellos? Well, no, because you flip off the camera, okay? Because that's what you do. Because people still do that these days. I don't know. I mean, you're also having the New Yorkers on a 24-hour FaceTime with the Irish, okay? Actually, now that I put it that way, of course this whole thing went wrong. But with all the expected vulgar stuff, there were actually some moments that were kind of wholesome and heartfelt. Kind of. Like the people who are actually trying to contact the other side. Not that other side. And try to find love.
We saw a random phone number at the portal and called.
Or sharing their Tinder profile or their snaps and of course their other social media just to get some followers. Like putting their phone super close to the camera and being like, hey guys, follow and subscribe. Also, who even uses Snapchat anymore, okay? The only people who use Snapchat use that for one thing, and one thing only. Actually, two things. The terrible Snapchat news, and people asking for feet pics. But yeah, it's kind of a sad state in dating when people are actually like, hey, I'm having no luck on Tinder at home, so you know what I think I should actually try? Going to that art installation and finding love in Dublin, halfway around the world. That's some 90-day fiancé shit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking long-distance dating, okay? I know that it can work and that people do find love, but when did trying to do this become the easier option than just downloading Bumble? Is this actually a good idea, or did people just watch 90 Day Fiancé and think, hey, maybe that'll be a good idea? I mean, we all know how well those relationships ended up. Although I do gotta say, it makes for a very cute meet-cute story. Check it out on Hallmark this Christmas, Holes of Love. Ugh. Not holes of love. And it's not like you can even talk to them on the portal itself, okay? Because the portal has no audio. People can't really talk to each other most of the time and would just awkwardly stare a lot. While some people took off their shirts, it's kind of like the worst swingers party you've ever been to. And also, sadly, because it is New York, there are homeless people who would use the structure as a bed, which really just gives FaceTiming to sleep a whole new meaning. Another instance of weird and disrespectful behavior was when people would lift up their phones and be playing a video or showing a picture, just super close to the camera. And then this one particular clip went viral and it was a screen saying, oh, RIP Pop Smoke, when suddenly, I'm just gonna roll the clip.
Someone can take it.
Yeah, they flashed an image of a particular incident that happened on a particular day in New York City, where thousands of people died, but somehow those people thought it was kind of funny to mention it? I mean, I'm not gonna rag on people for making jokes about this, because I know humor is how people cope and move forward, but when you're not from America and you're just putting it on a screen just to, I don't know, troll people, it comes off as less of a joke and more like you're just being an absolute asshole. Yeah, just maybe a bit insensitive, to say the least. But all of this wholesomeness didn't last too long. The last stubby straw when this only air conditioners model, who I shall not name because I don't want to give this main character any more publicity, but you can easily find it out on Google. But anyways, she decided to flash because in her words, she wanted her potatoes to be international crying emoji. But yeah, people do this as they know that they can get on the news and get their names and their modeling account pushed out. And all that publicity and exposure, no pun intended, is priceless. So, of course they're gonna do it. She also probably made more money than I have in my entire savings account this week alone, just from all the publicity and all the people who looking at her account for research purposes. The funny thing is, obviously this was gonna happen. Obviously. Like, you put out a giant 24-hour FaceTime call that anyone can join and interact with for people who don't know each other, and as we all saw, especially with all the other examples, that it just attracts the worst type of people, like all the main characters. Shortly after, it was announced that the portal would be closing early, because what's the one thing that we learned this whole video? It's that we can't have nice things. Like, hey, I'm gonna install this giant video call in the middle of the city that I have no administrative control over, and there's no mods and whatnot, so of course the feed goes out of control. And in New York, of all places, honestly, I'm surprised that people haven't done weirder stuff, considering all the stuff I've seen online. And this is just such an obvious thing to happen, especially when you don't have any paid staff that are there to prevent this stuff from, going haywire. But then this would mean you would have to pay a few people to be there like 24 hours at all times, which, as you can see already, is kind of a bad idea. To have that, it's just not very feasible for a 24-hour feed without it getting very expensive. It's like that Francis Ford Coppola film, Megalopolis, where apparently there's a scene where a paid actor in the theater stands up and asks Adam Driver a question, like Adam Driver's on the screen in the movie. And then Adam will break the fourth wall and reply back. That alone would cost billions of dollars to implement in theaters in the US alone, for like a week. Yeah, maybe sometimes art is just a mess. Long story short, of course this whole thing was a disaster. But that's also no excuse for everyone's behavior. Like, the Flash blasted her hakunas in front of a big crowd that most probably had some kids there. Just like in my last video, why can't people just do this stuff in private? Like, ew. That's gross and that's illegal. And it's also just so weird. Like, stay classy, New York. Another factor as to why this portal probably failed, which I don't see a lot of people talking about, is the time difference. Dublin and New York are like a couple of hours apart, so, and this thing runs 24 hours a day. So you'll have drunk Irish lads coming out from like a night in the pub to a New York in the midday afternoon. And then you'll have drunken Americans coming up to the Irish at night just to ask about like why they're after me Lucky Charms. Because all people think about when they're drunk are stereotypes. But yeah, like, this wasn't the first time that a portal has been opened, and well, the last time it went just about as well as everyone expected. In 2008, the Telectroscope connected Brooklyn to London, and because people are weird as there's a lot of awkward waving and just people taking off their shirts. Again, guys, this isn't Magic Mike XXL, okay? Like, I wonder what it is with portals and people's inabilities to keep their shirts on. Don't get me wrong, okay? I think that the concept and the idea of having a portal connecting cities is actually pretty cool. It's a cute idea where you can take a glimpse into a place where you otherwise wouldn't have been able to, get to meet and see some new people that you otherwise wouldn't have. But ultimately, because people are weird, we can't have nice things. So what's the solution? It's not to do less art, but actually with the world that we live in now, we could actually use more art. But if you're gonna do something like this, just maybe have someone monitor it and moderate. And if that's too expensive, just don't have it for 24 hours. Anyways, my Mochis, please let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about this portal. I would love to hear your thoughts, and let me know what you would do in front of the portal if you were in front of it. Like, share, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.